Hello, Grandma Lois here again, and I have a verse from Isaiah 9:2, which says, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined." And this 4th of July, when we pop our firecrackers and do our little twinklers and do whatever we do, let's think about the light of the Lord. And He's shining above all of them. So let's spread the light of the gospel ever how we can, you know? And if it's YouTube, we'll just do it. So, anyhow, through Christ, you can find joy and peace. This morning, changing the subject, you know how I do that. I got my lights all arranged in here and in my other living room. I am so blessed. James is going to spend the day out of Sellersburg, and I'm not going out there. But let me show you this painting I painted a few years ago up there. See that? That is my background today. And anyhow, we'll just have it and I got my iPad propped, and I got my microphones on, and everything's going good. And this morning, I was at the Walmart. I had to pick up something, well, some orange juice and whipping cream and a few things. And so, guess who was there? My baby brother, Wayne. Well, he's not the baby, he's second to the baby. And when he was born, which after I asked my mother, isn't there something to stop this? And she said, no, my daddy liked babies. Tom likes babies. And so when Wayne was born, and I told him and his wife about that this morning, I said, honey, when you was born, daddy cradled you in his arms. And he said, this is the most beautiful baby boy I have ever seen. And from then on, Wayne was the favorite. And his wife was standing there saying, yes, he was the favorite. He was the favorite. And she says, and I know it because they've been married, heavens, probably 50 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. But they're both doing good. But they go to the Walmart once a week, and it's usually on Wednesday. So he kept bumping my cart, and I just thought he was an awkward old man, you know. I didn't pay no attention to him. And so, anyhow, finally he said, finally, I got your attention. And I said, yes, finally. So him and Kat, they come in on Wednesday. I said, is it Wednesday? Because I never see them on Thursday. And I know that this is July 3rd. Tomorrow is July the 4th. So anyway, I'm going to talk about July the 4th later. What I decided to do was like, well, what did I do with it? Well, I had a note here. You know how Granny Pat and uh, live. Let's see, Kentucky living with Debbie. They got notes. I said I'm gonna make notes too. So look, I have hardly got any notes. I got to do more notes, and I'll be talking about them later. That does kind of help you. Now I dropped my phone. I got the dropsies a little bit, but anyhow, Wayne and Kathy was there, and I was telling Wayne how. And his wife said, yes, when all the other, she's courted him for a long time. She says, you know, I picked him. She said, I saw him going past in a car. And she said, and I was with my girlfriend. I think he was driving a Jaguar or something, though. I mean, he had a hot car. I know that. And I'm sure she picked him. The car had something to do with it, Kathy. She don't watch my YouTubes, I don't think. Her and Wayne, they watch my shorts sometimes if it comes in. He said, I watch you sometimes. Whatever. I don't worry about it. But anyway, she said, you know, I picked him. I saw him go past, and I was with my girlfriend, and she saw him, and she said, that's the cutest guy I ever saw. And so then she made arrangements to meet him. I think that was back when in New Albany, Indiana, everybody went to town on Saturday night, and they drove around and around Frisch's. You just got in your, and all the girls were looking, and all the guys were looking, and she spotted him, and she got acquainted with him, and she says, and I picked him, and I've kept him ever since. I said, Kathy, you know it's true. Women do pick who they want. You know, they say no or they say yes. It's up to them. Really. I mean, a girl don't have to say yes. if you want to say yes, it's because you picked him. And she said, I picked him. And she did. And they decided not to have any kids, so they don't have any kids. I don't think they even have a cat. Fact is, Wayne lives out in the country and he's got a pretty big piece of ground. And I understand by word of mouth from one of my other brothers that if squirrels come his way, we was raised on the farm where in the fall you go hunt squirrels and you have squirrel chicken and well, like you make chicken and dumplings, except you use squirrel, and it may have a few hairs in it, but that don't make any difference because what's a few squirrel hairs? Because it takes two people to skin a squirrel. But out there where he is, he's got a BB gun that's powerful, and he just kills him a squirrel every once in a while, and he cooks it himself, I imagine, because Kathy don't cook much. But I noticed they had a big box of Cheerios in their cart. Me and James like Cheerios also, and we have I never said a word, but we like Cheerios too. Now see how sparkly I am today. Well, I put on my sparkle stuff. Remember this stuff that I got for a quarter? It's called Marisa, Marin. No, Marina, Marina. Um, Earth Earth Harbor, and this cost $33. Well, you only just put a dab, and the next thing you know, you're sparkling. I may buy some more if I ever use this one up. I like the way it fixes my complexion. I'm particular. So anyway, we had a good time talking, me and Wayne and Kathy. And so they wear masks because Kathy has some health problems and she don't want to catch anything. And so they asked me if I had hearing aids, and I said yes, I do, but I got them turned off right now because I'm getting ready. I bet I got my hearing aids on. Well, it don't matter. I got those microphones. Turn that off. I got them a running. I said yes, I have hearing aids, but I didn't have them on while I was in the Walmart because I wasn't planning on talking to anybody. But I said, y'all want to do a short with me and let everybody? Oh no, they said no, no, no. Kathy said, I don't look good. Are you kidding? That girl had a scarf around her neck that come to her waist, and she just looked as cute as a button except for the scarf she had around. I said, look, if you did a short, nobody'd know who you was. You got to, because she has to protect her health, and she wears a mask. Her and Wayne both, and I even with hearing aids on, I don't always understand what they say, and I told him, I said, I think, let me turn this off. Turn flashlight off.
It's off now.
It's off now. These are funny, aren't they? How you can command them. That's that part of that AI, Sarah, and they'll just mind you. So I don't know how the flashlight got on, but it was on. We don't want that. So anyhow, I said, y'all want to do a short?
Okay,
yeah.
it's now on.
Turn that off. Turn the flashlight off, please, and leave it off.
It's off now.
I don't know what's the matter. This phone is rebelling this morning. I'm going to put her over there out of the way. Don't do that anymore. Maybe you talk to it like a pet kitty cat or a puppy dog. I don't know. Kind of weird. So they didn't want to do a short, and I said, anybody don't want to do a short, I don't, I don't do it. I don't do it. That's okay. That's fine. So we didn't do a short, but we was talking about hearing aids. And they wanted to know if they're an aggravation. Yes, they're an aggravation, but you can hear better with them. But sometimes you don't want to hear, so you just turn them off. So I turn them off. But I told them these that I have cost $7,000, and they are wonderful, and I really do like them. But they are so adaptable. But see, my granddaughter works for Hearing Life, which is a big hearing aid company that's all over the USA. There's 700 things just like that other place that does hearing. And so they have one here in New Albany. So when I told my daughter Cassie that James wanted to pay for me to get some hearing aids, my granddaughter Sarah works for them, and she says, "Man, Grandma, if you want them, I can get them for you for $600." James says, "I'll sure pay that." And Sarah said they're $7,000 hearing aids. I thought, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I am skeptical sometimes. So anyway, I checked them out. The kind I got, the Octacon, and that's what they cost, around $7,000. And they're guaranteed for life. And if anything goes wrong with them, they replace them and they take care of you till forever. So I told Sarah, yes, I want them. So she made arrangements with my hearing life here in New Albany. And I went and they tested me, and these worked perfect. And they said, if they need anything, you come in here, we'll fix it at no charge. And I like my pearl necklace that Denny and Pat got me out there at that Amazon Restore store for $1. On Fridays, the Amazon Restore store out at Borden charges $1 for whatever they got left. I haven't been there yet on a Friday. Tomorrow's Friday. Maybe I'll go and just see what I can grab for practically nothing. Now that's kind of fun. No, if there's any yard sales, I might go to that. You know what? The heat is so bad here, and this is July the 3rd, 2025. Tomorrow's the 4th, and I'll be talking about that later. What we used to do, which was miserable. But it's always hot in July. What's the matter with people? They will not hardly be any yard sales Friday and Saturday, probably because Saturday the heat is going to go up into the 90s again, real bad, Saturday and Sunday. And tomorrow it's going to be pretty bad. Today it's not going to be as bad as it has been, but it's still plenty hot. Like right now, I can find out it's 79 degrees out. My watch tells me. So, anyway, what was it I was going to talk about next? Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Well, I've been trying to declutter, and that is, I have found that hard. You know, James can't declutter at all, but I can declutter some. And what I've been doing, and why is it so hard to put something in a sack and say goodbye? Well, I think it's because of the memories you get. I mean, I got drawers that needs to be just dumped and buy. They don't go to a thrift store nowhere, straight to the trash. I'm going to get the strength up to do that one of these days. But yesterday I went through pictures and I found a few I wanted to keep. But I had a trash can beside me. And as I was going through those pictures, I had pictures that I don't remember who they are. Well, now they went in the trash because I don't know who they are. And who cares? I mean, nobody's going to ever want them. Karen and Kathy and Kim, they don't. Fact is, Karen, my one daughter, came. She was in one time 4 or 5 years ago. And she said, Mom, can I have whatever pictures I want? And I said, help yourself. So she did. And so she's got some. But you know what happens? James buys these houses. Now, Lord only knows what I'll talk about next. Which reminds me, I checked in on one of my YouTube friend ladies this morning, which is Senior Insights. And I like her. And so, anyway, she was saying, you know, this morning I don't know what I'm going to talk about. My get up and go got up and gone and went something. And that's an old saying. And you know, I know exactly what that means. Sometimes I get up and I say, what am I going to do today? My get up and go has done gone. But this morning wasn't like that. So I got up and I sang another little song. She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming around the mountain. I don't know. That song just struck me as funny. And I looked it up on YouTube later, and you say, yay, yay, yay. And I just did it like it's supposed to be done. It's a kid's song. And I guess we sang it when we were little kids. I don't really remember, but I got my coffee somewhere this morning. And you know what I did? I pulled out what I thought was chicken thighs out of the freezer this morning. I said, I'm going to have chicken and dumplings like Kentucky Life with Debbie. She's been making them for her husband. Me and her are like she's like my little sister or my big sister. I don't know. I think she's 5'7" or something, and I'm 5'2". But I'm the oldest, Debbie, so you're my little sister, younger sister. Anyway, fact is, I'm nearly old enough to be your mother. If I'd had a child at 16, I have children that are 71, Debbie. Well, here I am talking to, but I really like her. And so I pulled out and I thought it was 4 chicken thighs. Nope. it was 3 or 4 pork chops. I couldn't tell because I put water around it and it makes them stay frozen and they don't freeze dry. So we'll be having pork chops for supper. I'll fix them up later. I don't know how I'm going to fix a barbecue them or do something, but they thawed out, and when they thawed out and all that water, I could see very well they are not chicken thighs. We'll try again another time. Why not? So today I was thinking, now what else? Oh, so hard to get rid of things. So I got rid of a whole bunch of pictures yesterday, and I got another bunch I got to go through with and just pitch them. I've So this morning I had a bunch of stuff. I went through some of some of those blouses. I bought 20 of them, but they was only $1 a piece, and so that way I can try them on later. And so I tried on one this morning, couldn't get it down, so I pitched it in my bag to go bye bye. And so I just recircle them. Recycle is what that is. Why not? I mean, they're all really nice shirts, but I like this one. I like the neckline and I like the dark color. I think I look better in a darker color, but I like flowers too. But I like darker colors. It shows up better on my iPad. Now here's isn't that pretty? That picture I did years ago. I did that when I was married to Floyd. I was going through a hard time when I was married to Floyd, and so I would just paint pictures. And I've got a whole bunch around here. There's another one over there somewhere. Oh, you can't hardly see it for that light. But that's a pretty one. No, you can't see that other one. Oh well, I'm just having fun. I'll put this back where it goes. There, I'm set up in here. Now, that little thing right there is my doorbell. I went to Menards and they had doorbells for like $25 that you could plug in the wall and just stick it outside your door. And it's an electric outlet. And if anybody gets at the door, you can hear them all over this place, which is a good thing. There. It don't look too bad. The glare is not too bad today. I was thinking also about Granny Pat, and she's been talking about some things that are interesting. Oh, yeah, I know what I want to tell you. I have been sleeping with a pillow that y'all may not even know about. It's organic buckwheat hulls. And this is what I have slept with for a long time. The first one I ever found was at a Salvation Army, and it felt funny, you know, it was different, and it made a little noise, but it was kind of firm, but yet you could turn. So I bought it, and that's been probably 20 years ago, because I have slept with buckwheat hulls ever since. So the one I have that I've been sleeping with, they kind of wear out. But I found out that you're supposed to put them out in the sun ever so often, and it really freshens them up. Just the whole thing that they come in a cover that you leave them in, and then you use pillowcases to go outside of that. So the last one I had, I was 5 years old, and I had got it from Amazon. Fact is, when I was going through looking for me a new one, it said you bought this pillow 2019. So the one I have is 5 years old. So it's time for a new one. So I ordered me a new one. And they only about $34. But for somebody that sleeps on the side, it really supports your head. But what I really like about a buckwheat pillow is it's cooling. It's the most cooling thing. And during the night, I do like uh, old people, they flip their pillow, and then you've got the cool side again. And that just feels so good sometimes to flip that pillow. So I just flip it and I get up about every 2 hours and I flip it, and it feels so good. Now, was that all? Uh oh, I need more notes. I think I ran out. But anyhow, it was so much fun running into Wayne and Kathy. You know, I should not repeat what she said, but I'm going to because the whole family knows it. When she married Wayne, she said she decided to not have any children, and he said that was fine with him. He didn't want any either. So she said she had a cat at the time. So her her future husband, or her husband and the cat both got fixed at the same time. That made sure they would never have any kids, and he went along with it. He didn't want any either. So they've never had any danger of having children. But now I'll tell you another story about James's sister. Now, James's sister had children. She had 3 children already. So she got her tubes tied, and she was safe. She got her tubes. Back then, if your doctor could order your tubes tied when you got a certain age, and so she got her tubes tied so she wouldn't have to worry about getting pregnant every month when she's having a happy married life, which thank God some of us did and do. Not well, I ain't gonna talk about that. But anyway, she got her tubes tied, and don't you know, you still get your period and everything. But her period stopped, and she couldn't figure it out. So she started being sick of the mornings, and her chest started kind of growing. And she told her husband, she says, I feel like I'm pregnant. He said, there ain't no way you could be pregnant. You got your tubes cut. She said, no, I don't know though. I feel pregnant. So she went to the doctor. And guess what? Here, her youngest child was 20 some years old, 21 or 22 years old, her youngest daughter. And here she was pregnant. Janet was pregnant. They said, how did that happen? How did I get pregnant when my tubes were cut? And the surgeon said, sometimes they heal, they reattach. And hers reattached. And so she has Chad. Well, now, she didn't have a boy before that. She's got a grandson, but she had 2 daughters. And now she's got Chad. I'm not real close. They live way over in Kentucky somewhere. And I have got acquainted with Chad. And he's a chemist. He went to school to work in drugstore and be a chemist. Now he's running one, I think, or 2 of them, or 3. And he's went on and got his engineering degree, and he's up there in age now. And he's got 2 beautiful children, and he married another girl that was a pharmacist. They're both pharmacists, and he met her in pharmacy school or something, and they just clicked. But Chad is the joy of Janet's life. I mean, and I just love him. And the strangest thing is this: James never had any children, but he's got Chad, his nephew, and the 2 girls. There's just 3 of them. The son I'm thinking about is a grandson, which I meet them at family reunions and stuff when they have Easter dinners and Christmas dinners, and we go sometimes. And that's the only time I get to meet them. But Chad is so much like James Blair. He is a collector, and he loves crazy stuff like James does. James drags in stuff that nobody else would have, but Chad likes them, and it's in their blood or something. It runs in the bloodline. I don't understand it. Janet, the mother, the sister to James, says she don't understand it either. But Chad is so much like James. He could have been his son, but he just has Chad, his nephew, who is so much like him, and he's so good looking. Chad is black headed, just like James was, and he's got a black beard. And then he's got this little daughter that's got golden hair because his wife has got true blonde hair, and his little kids, both of them, the boy and the girl, they got a boy and a girl. And to get what they wanted, they had to use the saucer. They had to put them in a little pan and make them, or some, like I had a friend that had to get their babies another way. In fact, it was my granddaughter. My granddaughter, Karen's daughter, she never watches my YouTube either, but she don't care. So anyhow, she couldn't get pregnant, couldn't get pregnant, couldn't get pregnant. So her husband had a sperm test, and he didn't have enough to get a person pregnant. So they had to collect what he had, and it was his sperms and her eggs, and they put them in a petri dish, and that's what Chad had to do 2 times, and that's how he got his children. But anyway, so Dina it takes money, big money, to do the petri dish thing. So they had the first one, and it was a girl, and beautiful. And now she's about 14, growing up, gorgeous. And then they had the petri dish again, number two, and she's beautiful. And I can't even remember their names, but I do get a Christmas card from her every year. She lives down in South Carolina, about 2 hours from Karen, her mother, who is my one of my twins. But so then they were happy. They had two little girls, happy as they could be. And then about 2 years later, I don't know exactly how long, Dina says, "You know what? I think maybe I'm pregnant. I've missed a period and it's time for another, and it don't seem like it's coming around." She said, "I couldn't be pregnant." Oh, really? She was wrong. She was pregnant. The Lord decided she needed another little girl. And so she's got three little girls. Now, her husband and her had a tough time when they first got married financially. So Dina worked and made money, and she was a school teacher um, to handicapped children. And she did that for a while, and she really got burnt out on it, kind of, I think. But she quit that and she got a job at a bank or something, and she was making more money than being a teacher. But she met her husband to be, and he went to that college down there that's so famous in North Carolina. I can't remember which, but it's a school that you have to be somebody to get into it. I'll think of it someday and tell you about it. But anyhow, when they got married at her and her husband got married, and he is such a handsome man, and he went into real estate. And I tell you what, he sells real estate, and now they're millionaires because he can sell uh, like factories and stuff like that. So now they live in a mansion. She runs with the big dogs. Me and Karen, we don't know how to do that really, but she is so in society in South Carolina that I wouldn't even know how to say hello to them hardly, I don't think. But anyhow, Karen told me they went down. The girls had been taking dancing lessons, and they were having a dance recital. So Karen and Mike drove the 2 hours and left their cat, which they adore, Oreo, who was an outside cat. And I tell you what, Mike couldn't stand cats, hated them. And Kim and all the rest of us love cats. So when they went to visit Kim out at her house, which they did every so often, and if one of Kim's cats got on the counter to, and they do, I mean, they will do it. And he would say, "I don't want to go out there and eat with them cats getting all over her table and counters and stuff." And she just lets them cats go anywhere, and that's so nasty. And I just don't want to do that. And I'd rather eat at a restaurant or someplace. God got a hold of him. I tell you what, I'm going to tell you right quick, and then I'll tell you about the dance recital. So, don't you know, down in South Carolina, they have a swimming pool and a table and stuff. And he would sit out there in the morning, have his coffee, and there was this feral cat that would just come visit with him and look at him. And so he started giving it a little treat. He'd bring it out a little treat of some kind. And that cat jumped up on the table and made friends with Mike Brown. Well, I might have told this story before. He don't like cats, but that cat just won him over. I mean, completely. It ended up he was buying cat food and feeding him outside all the time, giving him milk, whatever he wanted. And he could come up on the picnic table. That's not a table they use all the time, where Mike was sitting to drink his coffee. Well, it wasn't too long. The cat wanted to go inside. He said, "I ain't letting that cat in here." Karen and I said, "He won't hurt nothing." Karen likes cats. And so, don't you know, they started letting him come in some. He'd stay in, and then he'd go, and then he would spend his whole day after he visited with Mike in the morning someplace else. They didn't know where he went. So Mike got to thinking, that cat's coming in the house all the time, and he's staying here all the time. I wonder if he belongs to somebody. So Mike went around the neighborhood. They live in a subdivision, and said, "Is this your cat? Is you got a cat that's black and white? Have you?" And everybody said no. But one lady said, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. That cat does what he wants to, and he comes up here and sleeps under that bush right there every day. And he don't belong to me. I don't know where he belongs," she said. So he told Karen, he says, "That cat don't belong to anybody. I guess he could come in and stay." So he came in to stay, and then they decided they wanted to keep him for good. Well, they took him to the vet, which he hated, and they had him checked out. He had already been fixed. He didn't have his toenails cut or anything, but he had already been fixed. So he got to live inside. And he's been there ever since, and that's been a few years now. I don't know how old he is. And now I saw a few months ago, Mike was having ice cream in the house, and that cat likes ice cream. So Mike had him a bowl of ice cream, and the cat had a little bowl of ice cream. We just ignore my phone calls. They will have to call back later because here I think I'm hidden for more minutes. It's 31 minutes. I should get out of here. But I've just had fun. Where was I? Oh, I got to tell you about the third little girl that they have. And anyhow, all of them took dancing lessons. So you all that hang in here, I'll tell you about this. So Karen and Mike went down, not this weekend, a weekend or so ago, to the dance recital that they were going to have. So they went, and it's all society, honey. We don't know any, me and Karen don't know nothing about society. And there was all these little girls a dancing and a prancing. And Karen said, "Mom, we sat there for 3 hours watching all them kids doing their recital. Talk about boring." She says, and then when it was over, Dina said, "Okay, Mom, we're having a big picnic. And you and Dad can go do whatever you want to because all of us people are going to go have a picnic." Karen looked at Mike and Mike looked at Karen. She says, "Okay, thanks." So they got in their car. They went to Dina's house, which she has a guest house over to the side or something. And they packed up their suitcases and they headed for home and their cat, Oreo. She said, "Mom, Dina dumped us." I said, "Well, you're not society. You're just not." She says, "No, and we don't want to be." And Mike says, "Let's go home." And they went home. Some things you just don't fit in on. And my Dina's the kind that says, "Mom, now now she likes these Kentucky shirts. Her and Mike, they wear them all the time because they're Kentucky fans. And when they come up here to visit me, they go to the stores and they buy them new ones, the new Kentucky shirts, like Kentucky, uh, living with Debbie in Kentucky. Well, like my little friend Debbie, she wears all them. She's a fan, and she could be coached. She said if they needed help, she would help them. Well, so would Karen and Mike, because they are big fans, and I've heard Kentucky, same ones. So anyway, I guess I'm going to hush. But that recital, Karen said, was so hard to get through, but they got through it. But they weren't invited to the party with all the muckety mucks. And when Dina gets together and they fly to places overseas, and recently I saw on Instagram they were out at some ranch in Wyoming, and see, I watch them on Instagram and Facebook, and the little girls were riding horses and just having a blast. And Dina had on a cowboy hat, and her husband had on a cowboy hat, and they just can go anywhere and do anything, and they got money to burn, I reckon. We never did, but I'm glad they're, I'm glad that they are enjoying it, but it's just not our crowd. You don't always fit in every crowd, and it really don't matter because we have our own crowd. My brother Denny is having a church picnic in September. Now that's just his Hardshell Baptist Church, and they have it every year in September. Well, we had to cancel the family reunion because of the heat. It was too much. And Kenny told me yesterday or day before that the Sunday that the family reunion was supposed to be, that it rained buckets. It come down flash flooding so bad that Sunday. We would have been washed away anyway. So he said it was good we went ahead and canceled it. And it was still hot though. But he said, they're having theirs in September. And I said, well, you know, uh, maybe the family could come in and we could all have a kind of get together while your church is meeting. He said, oh, no, I don't think so. And I think he's right because we wouldn't exactly fit in. Now, I could, but the others probably couldn't because the reason I could is because when Buddy and I was on the evangelistic field, and Denny watches this and he knows it's all true, they had Sunday dinners, pitch-in dinners for us all the time. And here we were the only outsiders there. And so nobody, you know, you don't know anybody or anything, and it just don't work. If you don't know the people, like I wouldn't know his church people, but I'm so outgoing that it wouldn't bother me. I could say yak 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 to the fence post. But these my other Denny and my other ones, I mean, we're a clique, and a church is like a clique. So when Buddy and I went to those big dinners that a church would hold just in our specialty, just for us, were the only people we knew was the pastor and his wife, and so we were lost, but we just make the best of it. So Denny did right, but said, no, we can't do that. And he's so right because I realized that it would not work, just like Karen didn't work with Dina's friends that all are so well to do and a different stratosphere. There is different things in America that you don't fit into. But I could fit in with that church group because I'm outgoing. Now, Buddy wasn't. He would, I did all the talking. That's why I'm good at it, I reckon, because I'm not shy. I'm very outgoing and I'll talk to anybody. And you know what I like to do? I like to meet people and get their history. And I ask them all kinds of questions. I could be an interviewer. And so I would like to interview some of y'all more. And I'm glad when you tell me stuff about yourself because I wonder, how old are you? And Clarence has went and changed his name to, what did you change your name to, Clarence? One of my little friends up in New Jersey that's 27 years old and tells me about football all the time. I don't know, but I don't remember, but I know when he changed it, I thought, that sounds a lot like Clarence on his YouTube because he changed his name and stuff. But I still know who you are, Clarence, and I still love you and everything, Grandma or some. So he's a different thinking young man and interesting sometimes when he tells me all about the football because me and James do. James really likes football, so I tell him whatever Clarence says, but I don't know if I can get used to calling him something else or not. I guess I will. I'm going to adapt. Okay? I think y'all, Pamela knows who he is, and from Florida, and she's a good girlfriend. We love each other, and we talk all the time. And she lets me know about herself and how much she misses her husband, and he's been gone a while. But you never get over missing him. But you can go on with life and do the best you can. That's all you can do. You know what? When you get widowed and you get all alone, you still get hungry. You still got to eat. You still got to have shelter. Somebody's got to take care of you, and you have to do it yourself. And I have a lot of widow friends out there in YouTube land. And Cynthia, the one that's got Senior Insights, she's a widow lady. And of course, one of them, Sandra Brown, Happiness After 60, she was a widow lady, but she found her a new man through a dating service. You got to admire her. She's a go getter. You can say I am too. But I wasn't really, I didn't think I'd ever get married a third time. But you don't know what God's got in store for you when you serve the Lord. You just don't know. So here I am with number three, another soulmate. And I didn't know that was possible because I was so in love with Buddy for 44 years. I just didn't think it was possible, but it happened. So I know it's real, but it didn't happen with number two. Number two was a partner and companion, and sometimes not a very good one. Because if you don't love them, you can't put up with a whole lot sometimes. You get real aggravated. I know because I've been there, done that. Live and learn. You learn a lot of things, and God lets you learn things that you need to learn. And this is a proving ground, people. And I hope I turn out all right. I tell you what, sometimes it's a tough battle. It is. I mean, he says, take up my cross and follow me. And sometimes that cross gets kind of tough. But somebody helped him, and he will help us. And I know it because he's helped me many times. So I'm going to shut up and let y'all go. And is there anybody that's going to watch me for 40 minutes? If so, let me know. Now, remember this, you can always watch later when you get to the end, or you can fast forward. And always say you like me, because that helps us with YouTube for some reason or other. I don't understand it. There's a lot about YouTube. They want to know now if I want to join a group. I don't know about that. Old me, better living. Old me, better living, which is a really nice YouTube man, very smart, very intelligent, who has shouted me out. He says I have personality. Whee! Thank you. That's what I said to him. He's so nice and so kind. And he tells people, but he's 81 or 2 now, and he's still going strong. And he is very interesting. You can learn a lot of stuff from him. Now, Granny Pat said that she watched somebody that said, if you probably don't have 500 views, you might as well quit. Of course, we don't believe that. We believe that as long as you're touching a few people, it don't matter. And I know I got a lot of subscribers, but honey, very few of them really watch me all the way through or watch me at all. I'm subscribed and that's it. So they don't even bother to unsubscribe when they don't watch you. It don't matter. If you reach some people with a kind word, or give them a little laugh, or keep them interested a little while, because there's nothing interesting hardly on TV sometimes, and that's a fact, Jack. But I've got that 135th, Dr. Von Chilla, signed up when I had 35 followers, and he signs in and says hello all the time, and I appreciate him. He lives up in Pennsylvania, and he used to trade comic books and had a YouTube channel, but he don't do that anymore. He's retired. I've not retired yet. I'm still at it, and I got pork chops to fix, folks, that I thought was chicken thighs. We just do the best we can with what we got. That's all I know. Love you. Walk that walk where Jesus would be pleased with you. I love you. Bye bye.